La întrebarea cum te porți cu Rusia, Lituania a răspuns de fiecare dată același lucru, cu fermitate. Lituanienii au experiențe istorice cu rușii, din care au învățat că este dificil să ai încredere în ei. După destrămarea URSS, lituanienii s-au îndreptat spre Uniunea Europeană și NATO. Chiar dacă se află sub umbrela de securitate transatlantică, cetățenii acestei țări știu să fie mereu pregătiți în caz de atac sau invazie și sunt printre cei mai vocali susținători ai ucrainenilor. Violeta Motulaite este ambasadorul Lituaniei la București și discutăm împreună despre lecțiile bine învățate legat de cum tratezi un agresor. Sunt Cristina Cileacu, începe Pașaport diplomatic. Violeta Motulaite, Ambassador of Lithuania in Bucharest, welcome to Diplomatic Passport.
Bună ziua! Bună dimineața, maybe.
Lituania a avut mereu o relație contundentă cu Rusia. După ce au scăpat de ocupația sovietică, lituanienii și-au urmat natural cursul spre democrație, lucru care a fost constant un factor deranjant pentru Rusia. Această istorie a făcut ca Lituania să fie printre țările cu voce puternică împotriva agresiunii rusești, de câte ori aceasta s-a manifestat. Iar războiul din Ucraina este încă un exemplu că lituanienii au avut mereu dreptate să sublinieze că neîncrederea în Rusia este justificată.
Ambassador, Vladimir Putin continues to blame the West for the war he started in Ukraine. In the same time, he seems to get ready for a more prolonged war, but he also speaks about negotiations. Lithuania is a country that always had a very tough voice when it comes to Russia aggressions. Is this room right now for diplomacy in this phase of the war?
According to historical memory of Lithuania, it is difficult to say that there is a room for diplomacy at this particular moment, because we see that escalation is growing. We witness that
Partial mobilization.
Putin announced partial mobilization. Russia annexed new territories of Ukraine. As well as there are threats, and Russia is threatening to use nuclear arms. Lithuania during the centuries was a neighbor of Russia and even occupied not once by Russia. So having in mind this historical experience, we think that if the world will not stop Russia, Russia will not stop itself. So the main thing, I think, is to support Ukraine, to support by all means, by including military means, in order that the full victory would be achieved.
Well, because you said that Lithuania has this experience and you lived as well under the former Soviet Union, can you explain for the public in Romania how is like living under Russian occupation?
Well, living under Russian occupation, I think, is just like living on any other occupation. It is occupation, so it means that the local nation which is occupied is deprived from some rights and freedoms, from majority of them. We were taught to be Soviet nation, we were taught to forget that we are Lithuanians. We were forced, of course, to learn Russian language, though in Lithuania, differently than in some other parts of the former Soviet Union, we were able to learn in Lithuanian, to study in Lithuanian, starting from secondary school and in the universities. It was not the rule in some other republics. So this maybe helped us to maintain our identity. I was born in the period of the Soviet rule and of the Soviet occupation, and I remember those times that people, of course, some people accepted this ideology, but not majority. In my family, I always had believe, and my parents taught to me, that one day Lithuania will be free again, because they were born in independent Lithuania before the Second World War. So I think in many families it was like that. Now, new generation born in Lithuania without any experience of living under occupation or annexation, so they may be perceived differently a little bit, but we know what Russia can do. We have our experience. We had to live and to survive after the Second World War during the period of mass deportations, where hundreds of thousands of Lithuanian people, not being only Lithuanians, different nationalities, were deported to Siberia. But we survived.
Când vecinii tăi sunt Belarus și exclava rusă Kaliningrad, iar contextul este conflictul din Ucraina, este firesc să te aștepți la influențe negative și dezinformări masive. De altfel, rușii și-au manifestat aceste intenții și înainte de agresiunea împotriva ucrainenilor. Ce fac acum este să înlocuiască propaganda din timp de pace cu cea din vreme de război.
The geographical position of Lithuania means that you have a border with the Russian exclave Kaliningrad, also with Belarus, a country that backs up the Russian war in Ukraine, and you also have like 5% of the population of the country of Russian origins. Are there different views at the level of the population in Lithuania when it comes to the war in Ukraine?
You are right. Our geography is, we are in between Belarus and Kaliningrad region of Russian Federation, and we feel that this is our vulnerable aspect of our country. Nevertheless, we believe in victory of Ukraine, and there will be nothing will stop us from supporting them, because we feel that this war is not only for Ukraine. This war is for us as well. For us, not only Lithuania, for us, the whole democratic community of the world. And speaking about the attitude or thinking of citizens living in Lithuania, I cannot say that they are divided along their nationalities. There are Russian-speaking people who really support Ukrainians with open hands and open hearts, and they open their homes for refugees. And there are some Lithuanians who hesitate, of course, as in any other country. So we don't feel this division along nationalities. Actually, in Lithuania, now we have around 60,000 Ukrainians, refugees who settled in Lithuania. So in comparison with the population, which is less than 3 million, I think it is a lot. And I visited this summer Lithuania, and I could feel many Ukrainians, not only in the streets, but in different supermarkets or everywhere else. They are working. They started to work, and they started to let their children to schools, and I think that this will make us even more closer to each other.
In the same time, the Russians are quite strong when it comes to propaganda, and a very simple fact like the recent ban of visas for the Russian citizen flooded Lithuania with even more disinformation. Does your country have a strategy to counter these effects?
There is a strategy how to counter these effects. I think that the strategy countering disinformation was already made some years ago, because disinformation flow didn't stop any time, and it was only growing and growing and growing. But that disinformation was of the peacetime disinformation. Now this is wartime disinformation. So this is different. Our specialists who are dealing with that have to adjust, and I cannot say that they adjusted already. On the other hand, of course, there are some bans. For example, it is prohibited to broadcast Russian media, television, radio, and so on. But there is still discussion is going on among politicians and in the society. Is it necessary to ban? Because people are wise enough to understand what is true and what is lie. So there is one trend that some people say that let us hear everything and we will decide, and we know that we will decide right. But nevertheless, of course, because of this very big flow of disinformation concerning Lithuania as well, disinformation, or for example, on Kaliningrad transit. It was this summer when we implementing European Union decisions stopping some transit of some goods to Kaliningrad. There was very big flow of disinformation that Lithuania one-sidedly stopped all transit to Kaliningrad. Then the other, of course, flow of disinformation is now when Lithuanians became much more careful with those Russian citizens who would like to enter Lithuania. On one hand, free travel is not a right, it is a privilege, and people from the country which aggressively occupies the neighboring countries has no right to be granted of this privilege. On the other hand, of course, it is not absolutely, the border is not sealed. People from opposition or dissidents or EU family members or some others with some other reasons, they can enter Lithuania, and it is not prohibited, but the main flow, of course, is stopped. And it is stopped not because we just want to do this action and that's it. It concerns our security. We cannot be sure that everyone who is coming with visa to Lithuania or to European Union have really good intentions.
Yeah. Well, your country is among the very active when it comes to supporting Ukraine, and a good example will be the fact that the Lithuanian people, the common people of Lithuania, collected around 6 million euros in order to buy a Bayraktar drone and donate it to Ukraine. In the same time, at the level of European Union, we hear various voices, various countries saying that maybe we should be less, let's say, tough on Russia. Maybe we should drop the sanctions, or not drop the sanctions, but at least not adding more sanctions. Do you think there is a place right now to have these gray zones when it comes to Russia, in wartime especially?
A policy of appeasement has never brought the sustainable peace. After annexation of Crimea in 2014, insufficient reaction of some countries opened the way for February 24th this year, for the aggression this year. So we would always advocate in European Union and other organizations to make what is possible in European Union, of course, with sanctions and further sanctions.
Când ai experiența Lituaniei în relație cu Rusia, știi bine că este foarte înțelept să îți iei toate măsurile, să reduci dependențele de o țară în care nu poți avea încredere. Gazul cumpărat de la ruși era mai ieftin, dar pe termen lung prețul s-ar plăti în libertate. În ultimii 10 ani, lituanienii au lucrat la soluții care să îi ajute să se decupleze de la conducta de gaz rusesc și au reușit. Lituania este prima țară europeană care nu mai depinde de resursele energetice din Rusia.
Your country was the first at the level of European Union that cut itself out of the Russian gas. In the same time, this was a process that Lithuania started not recently but years ago. Is this an example to follow?
I think inevitably it is coming. You see what is happening on Nord Stream 1 and with Nord Stream 2 and some other pipelines which Russia cutting itself from delivering gas, though it is very profitable for Russia. Yes, Lithuania cut and stopped importing gas in April already this year. We could afford this because we were preparing for this for not 1 year. We prepared this maybe for a decade. So we built an LNG terminal, and we were the first in the region to build this kind of LNG terminal. And our citizens at the beginning, they blamed our government that gas prices raised at that moment. But now I think nobody in Lithuania is blaming that decision of Lithuanian government to build LNG terminal, because we were ready. We were ready for this war. First of all, we have built oil terminal, then we built LNG terminal, and now still we are not ready, we are not fully ready to cut ourselves from energy of Russia. Still we have problems in electricity. In Lithuania only 33% is generated on the territory of Lithuania, and other more than 60% of electricity we have to import. So this is the problem at the moment, and now government and even private sector is rapidly investing into renewable sources and renewable energy, and well, there is an aim in 2030 to become an electricity exporting country, though now we are importing. We are importing electricity now from Sweden mostly, and from our northern neighbors as well. And yes, price is very, very high on the market because we pay, our people pay market price. But what to do? We have to sacrifice something in order to help to implement sanctions and in order to help Ukraine on the whole. And I can say that it could be an example for other countries as well. We are small and not very wealthy country. Others can afford more, but we are really ready to sacrifice.
And is the population ready to sacrifice as well? I mean, we did talk about the implication of Lithuanian, but on a long term, when we look into the pockets and we see that more and more money have to be paid, is the population steady on this course?
For the moment, yes, but we cannot rely that the population will be steady and during the long period. And especially when winter will come, there are some subsidizing, but of course subsidizing of prices for consumers will not encourage to reduce consumption. So now we have, of course, we put a lot of efforts to reduce consumption, first of all. Secondly, we really support the initiative to put a cap on electricity prices. And well, we hope that we will survive, because prices in the market are not only growing, they are like waves. And now we see that some energy
is decreasing,
is decreasing, some sorts of energy. And we think that, yes, this is an effect of solidarity. This is an effect of solidarity of European countries, and I think we will survive. People are not on the streets yet in Lithuania. They are patient.
Ambassador, in a meeting we had a few months ago, you told me that you are amazed of how many resources Romania has, and in the same time is a pity that it doesn't take advantage on them properly. You are the ambassador of Lithuania in Romania, and the question is, how would you improve this relations in the sense maybe we can use more of our resources?
Well, I don't think I am in position to advise how to use resources in Romania. Actually, my duty here is to encourage bilateral relations and and to encourage, of course, exchange of good practice. We are always ready and open if there is anything that we could share with Romania, we would share, but I think Romania would find its best solution itself. Well, as an embassy, we see that we still, though we have absolutely excellent political relations, we are like-minded countries, and both Lithuania and Romania are on the eastern flank of NATO, and we have the same concerns, and we support decisions of EU for new sanctions, and especially we were happy of Madrid NATO summit decisions, both of our countries, where really a lot of attention was paid for the eastern flank of NATO. But I think that we still have a lot to do, a lot of possibilities to expand our relations in economic sphere, people-to-people relations. So now I feel that this is the duty of our embassy.
Atât pentru astăzi, dar rămânem în continuare online pe pagina de Facebook a emisiunii și pe contul nostru de Twitter. Revenim cu subiecte noi din lumea diplomației și a politicii externe, vinerea viitoare de la 11:30 și în reluare sâmbătă după miezul nopții. La revedere!